Hey y'all, it's your Missniecytv and I'm here to do a review for Divorce Sistas Season 1, Episode 3. The episode picks up where it left off and Javon is still asking Geneva is Anika his, and Geneva's all flustered like, why would you say that? Javon's like, we did have sex around the time she was conceived, so excuse me if my calculations are wrong, but it does seem like there's a possibility. By the way, we did talk about having a child and naming her Anika. And what is her name? Anika. Geneva, we all know that baby's his, and he knows it too, so why don't you just tell him and also tell William so that you get out of this? Because it seems like you really want to be with Javon, but you're trying to fight it. Geneva's like, why are you here to hurt him? Javon's like, no, I'm not here to hurt him. So Geneva's like, so you're here to hurt me? Javon's like, I would never do that. But we also talked about leaving our spouses. I left mine, so it's your turn. Geneva's like, yeah, that was 6 years ago. And me and William are in a different place now, and I don't want to hurt him. Javon's like, that was 5 years ago and 11 months, but who's counting? Geneva can't even give him an answer because she knows if she opens her mouth, whatever she says is going to be a lie, and Javon can rewrite through that. This is when William comes down the stairs and he's like, you're ready to go? Of course Javon answers, and Geneva doesn't even answer because she's so flustered about the conversation she just had with Javon. William can see that something's wrong with her, and he's like, baby, are you okay? Geneva's like, yeah, I'm alright, knowing that she's lying. Knowing that she's about to hurt this man when she tells him the truth, that Anika's not his, and she had an affair with Javon. It would be something if William was at the top of the stairs listening the entire time, and he's going to play it cool like he doesn't know nothing, and he's going to bait Geneva into telling him, and when she tells him, he's going to be like, I already knew. We see Pastor Jefferson and Rashida having a conversation as they're on their way to the banquet. Rashida's like, did you mean everything you said? Jeff is like, about what? Rashida's like, about you loving me. Jeff is like, of course I love you, and then they go into Jeff is like, where is this coming from? Are you okay? You've changed a lot. Is it menopause? Rashida's like, what did you say to me? And then Jeff is like, I'm just saying that because you changed. Rashida's like, maybe I changed because you have more time for the church than you do your family. Jeff is like, I tell you I love you every Sunday at church. Rashida's like, do you hear yourself? You tell me every Sunday at church only because you want the people in your congregation to think that you're a loving husband, but you never say it to me at home. Rashida's like, if you really love me, you would show it and we would be having sex. Jeff is like, you know what? I'm gonna do better. We're gonna do. Jeff is like, I really do love you, Rashida. And Rashida's like, I love you too. I just want you to be more present. Jeff is like, I get it. Rashida's like, you get what? Jeff is like, I get that you want me to be more present. Rashida's like, don't patronize me because that's what you do with your congregation. Rashida's like, I also know that I got your back, but it seems like you don't have mine. Jeff is like, I do every time. Rashida's like, every time what, Jeff? Jeff is like, you know what? I'm not going to let you ruin this night for me. We got to go inside this party and act like everything's okay. Rashida's like, another night of pretending. Jeff's basically like, if you notice, we never ride together anymore. Rashida's like, I'm surprised you wanted to ride with me tonight. Jeff is like, that's only because it would look strange to the people we came in separate cars. Jeff is like, you want to know why I don't want to ride with you? Because every time I ride with you, you bring something up and it causes you to nag. Rashida's like, I'm not nagging, it's called talking so that we can work through it. That's what people do in healthy marriages and healthy relationships. Jeff's basically like, I'm not going to let you ruin this night for me, but I bet when we get to this party and you see all those people crowding around you, you'll snap out. Rashida's like, you make time for everything else but your family. Jeff is like, this is my calling. Rashida's like, so it's being a husband and a father. Jeff is like, I gave you a really good life, and that comes with a lot of sacrifice. Do you know how many women would like to be in your shoes? Rashida's like, no, enlighten me. Jeff, you might want to be careful because a 19-year-old girl just came up to the church and said that you was sleeping with her for 3 months after she broke up with her boyfriend. Luckily, Rashida called her on a lie because she said that y'all got cameras everywhere, and she didn't see the girl anywhere on the cameras, especially in your office where she said that y'all had sex. Even though that was a lie, be careful before you telling yourself because you might actually be out here cheating and you might slip up and say something. Rashida's like, oh yeah, and don't forget that it was my grandfather's endowment that paid for this church, so don't talk about you giving me a good life. Over at Naomi's, we see Naomi's glam team waiting for Naomi downstairs so that she could show them the dress that she's wearing to the banquet. And she comes downstairs, she's like, how good do I look? Like, you look good, girl. Go have fun tonight and don't think about all that other stuff. Naomi gets a knock on the door and her makeup artist goes down to the door and she's like, girl, it's the police. And Naomi's like, what's the police here for? I ain't do nothing. The police officer walks in. He's like, Miss Price, please come outside. Naomi's like, I'm not coming outside for nothing until you tell me what's going on. The officer tells her that they have a warrant. Naomi's like, for what? The officer's like, if you come outside, I'll tell you everything. Naomi's like, I'm not going anywhere and I'm not leaving my house. And my team's out. That's when Naomi hears a voice, and the voice is like, did you search the house? Naomi's like, search the house for what? The voice is coming from Franklin's lawyer, and the lawyer is like, we have to search your house to get all the property that Mr. Price is old. Naomi's like, he's not old nothing and I'm not giving him nothing. The officer's like, please come outside before we arrest you. Naomi's like, I'm not going nowhere. But Naomi doesn't also want to get arrested, so she goes outside. And the lawyer's like, you have to give all the property that Mr. Price gave to you, and it now goes to Mr. Price and his new wife, Mrs. So Naomi had to give up her earrings, her watch, her ring, her paintings, her furs. Oh, the lawyer also asked her to open the safe, and Naomi's like, I'm not opening that. Naomi also had to give up her Range Rover, but she got to keep the old school car. Naomi didn't go down without a fight. She took them earrings off and threw them just so that the lawyer and the officer could search. But what kind of billionaire or millionaire is Franklin that he would take gifts from his ex-wife that he gave to give them to his new wife? Naomi gets in the car and she drives away because she can't deal with this, and her glam team is like, what are we gonna do? The makeup artist is like, I'll call Geneva. Then we see Geneva, William, and Javon in the car, and Geneva does get the call from the makeup artist, and William's like, who's that? Geneva's like, it's Duffy. Geneva's like, I'll call her back. Then William goes into this whole spiel about how he's gonna hook up Javon with Tiffany and how she's a good woman and how she makes good money, and how he also told Javon that Tiffany's one of Geneva's friends, and Javon's like, oh really? The whole time Javon doesn't want to hear none of this because he wants to be with Geneva, and Geneva's like, I don't think that's a good idea. Then Geneva gets a text from Duffy and she's like, wait, I gotta answer this because it might be really important. So Geneva answers the phone and Duffy tells her they took everything that Franklin was owed. Geneva was like, I tried to tell her that they was going to take everything, but she didn't want to listen to me, and see where she's at now. Geneva's like, thank you for calling me, and then she hangs up the phone, and William was like, Naomi? Geneva's like, yeah, I gotta make a personal call. Javon is like, is there anything that I can do to help? William also offered to pull over so that Geneva could make the call, but Geneva was like, I'll call her when I get there. William is like, I could text Franklin and see if he's coming tonight. Geneva's like, okay, thank you. Over at the banquet hall, we see Bridget and this waiter trying to organize the seats for the banquet, and she gets a call from William saying, can you fit in the extra seat so that my friend Javon can come? Bridget's like, I'll see what I can do, but it's gonna be tight. Then William is like, please, and then Bridget's like, okay. Mind you, while Bridget's on the phone with William, the waiter that's helping Bridget is over there talking to Vaughn, and he says something smart, like, shouldn't you be going preparing the food and bussing the tables? Vaughn is like, who you talking to? Bridget intervenes, and she's like, hey, what's going on here? And then they explain the situation, and Bridget's like, well, he's not the waiter, he's actually my guest. The person that's helping Bridget is like, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. Then the person walks away, and now it's just Vaughn and Bridget talking. And then Vaughn's mad because Bridget introduced him as the guest, and Bridget's like, well, I told you not to wear that waiter outfit. Vaughn is like, this is the only thing I have. This is when we see the pastor and Rashida arrive, and everybody's outside. It's a whole bunch of people, everybody's dressed up. They're holding hands like everything's okay. Now it's time for action, and they have to. The girls arrive, and they're having a conversation in the suite upstairs. Geneva calls Naomi to ask her what happened. Naomi's at the liquor store. Mind you, they already said that Naomi acts a fool when she's drinking. She's talking about I'm gonna sue Franklin for everything. He took everything from me. My $4 million paintings, my earrings, and my watch. Naomi's like, what type of lawyer are you? She's telling this to Geneva. Geneva's like, I already tried to tell you that he was gonna come back for everything, but you didn't want to listen. Tiffany tries to talk to Naomi, but Naomi's not trying to hear that. Naomi's like, you know what, I'm dressed up and I'm gonna come there. Then she changes her mind and she's like, I don't feel like it. The girls are like, that's a good idea. You should go home and get arrested. We'll stop by after the bank. While the ladies are having a conversation, the guys downstairs are having a conversation, and Bridget's friend, the one that she was on the phone with, Calvin, whatever his name is, goes to talk to the pastor, and he's like, pray for me. The pastor's like, what happened? Then Calvin goes into the whole story about how Vaughn quit the job. Bridget called in the favor for him, and this is when Vaughn walks up and he starts getting belligerent. He's like, so you still mad about that? The two guys start fighting, but they don't really get into the fight because the pastor and Myron stop it. Then that's when everybody comes downstairs. Everybody gets introduced to everybody. William introduces Javon to Tiffany. They sit there and have a cackle. William is honestly doing too much, but Javon is doing just a little bit just to make Geneva jealous, and Javon could see that. And Geneva, you need to know how to play your cards. Geneva, you're showing your hand a little too easy. We were supposed to have a poke. Then we see Rashida and the pastor get up there. They welcome everybody. Rashida does this prayer that's really indirected to her husband, but it's really touching everybody because everybody's going. After this prayer, everybody goes back to socializing. Javon and Tiffany are socializing. They're laughing and cackling, and Geneva's sitting there, and she's like, what's so funny? What's so funny? Geneva, you're not playing your cards right, baby girl. Especially in front of your husband who you're trying to play that you're happy with in front of Javon. Tiffany's like, we just realized that we got a lot of stuff in common, and that's when Geneva purposely spills something on her. She's like, I gotta use the bathroom, and she goes to Rashida and Pastor Franklin's suite to use the bathroom. Rashida and Geneva have a conversation, and Geneva's like, I don't know how much more I can take of this. Why is he doing this to me? Why is he even here? Why is he even talking to her? I'm like, Geneva, girl, you are married, and I don't even know why Rashida didn't even tell her that. Then Geneva goes into the whole thing. She also tells her that Javon thinks that Anika's his because they did mess around at the same time that her and William were trying for IVF. She's like, please don't tell me that it's possible. Rashida's like, I don't know, but you can't panic, girl. Rashida tries to calm her down so that they can enjoy the rest of the night. Downstairs, the pastor's right-hand man, Myron, comes up and tells him that big money's on the way. And as they're talking, Vaughn has a conversation with everybody. He starts cussing and acting belligerent. Myron's like, Bridget, get him out of here. And then that's when Bridget has a conversation with Vaughn, and she's like, go home. Vaughn is like, I will go home, but how will you get home? Because I'm taking your car. Bridget's like, you're not taking it. Back upstairs, this is when Tiffany turns Geneva's world upside down, and she's like, I want to start dating again. Geneva, why were you holding out on me? Why were you keeping that fine man away from us? Geneva just looks, but she doesn't say nothing because I don't think Tiffany knows that she had an affair with Javon. Back downstairs, Myron's like, big money just arrived, and everybody turns their head, and it's Franklin and his new wife. The new wife has the nerve to say, it's nice to meet everybody, but is that dragon lady here? And of course, Geneva and Rashida stand up like, who are you talking to? Who's the dragon lady? Are you talking about Naomi? Then his wife is like, I didn't mean no harm, I wasn't talking about her. Everybody sits down at the table, and Tiffany's the first one to notice that his new wife has Naomi's earrings on. So Tiffany gives a signal, and she starts pulling at her ear, and Franklin notices, and he's like, you like what you see? And Tiffany's like, yeah, but they would look better on the brown skin woman. That's when Bridget walks over, and she's like, we got a problem, and everybody turns their head, and Naomi's standing over there drunk. She walks over to the table where everybody's sitting at, and she's like, I know darn well you're not sitting over there talking to her. So let me know what you guys think about the episode. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on your bell notifications. Bye!